in your ear and tell you that I'm here and take you to the dance and maybe find romance, but you can't. So it's Mobtown life. I want to see the friends I miss and give my mom a kiss and get my hair cut right or just sleep through the night, but you can't. So it's Mobtown life. Mobtown life. We'll drink with you forever. Mobtown life. In dark and stormy weather. Mobtown life. What else is there to do but pandemic all together? So wear your Wednesday best, at least the top I guess. We'll fly you to the moon, all up in your bedroom. It's tonight, and it's Mobtown life.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mobtown Live.
Heyo!
The first all-virtual edition, because classes have started back up in the ballroom. Don't get too excited. Circus classes have started back up in the ballroom at a small capacity, which is good.
You are never swing dancing again, nerds.
And so we are trying this from home. Abby and Hannah are both out this week. So that was Rich Combs doing his cover of the Mobtown Live theme song. I hope you all liked it. I thought it was awesome.
I loved it.
Yeah. A couple announcements to start things off with. This is the last episode of our season. So we're going to take a 3-week break after this, and then we'll be back on September 2nd. And on September 2nd, we are doing something special where we're teaming up with the League of Conservation Voters. They're an environmental group here in Maryland, and we are doing a voter couch party. So we're going to talk about how to vote, how to get your absentee ballot, how to decide whether to vote in person or vote by mail. We'll have music. It'll be a fun, all-around cool thing. I believe that we have a video from Kristen Harbison briefly telling us about this voter couch party. Which we'll go to. In the video, it says it's September 3rd. We've changed it to September 2nd, so take note. Hachi, can we play the video?
Playing it.
Why some are right and some are wrong, prepare their own reflections. The people's rights demand our song, the right of free election for government and order's sake and law's important section. Stand by the ballot box for freedom of elections. Law and order be the state with freedom and protection. Let all stand by the ballot box for fair and free elections. Out and county, wealth and peace, trade and all connections. With science, arts, and all increase by fair and free elections. Then wars between the fighting lands and trigger disaffection. Stand up with willing hearts and hands for fair and free elections.
I love Kristen Harbison. She is out there.
Oh, she's been texting me from her vacation.
Are we live again? I think we are.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks, Hachi. Cool.
The video was over. It just stayed in silence.
Thank you, Kristen. That was Kristen Harbison, everyone, with the League of Conservation Voters. September 2nd at 7 p.m. We will be blasting that all over the place. Other things to look forward to for next season. We have Ursula Ricks, Joe Keys and the Late Bloomer Band, a number of other really awesome musicians. We are going to have that panel that we rescheduled of small business owners. We will also be having a panel of local music venue owners. So that should be pretty cool.
And we will also still want to set up in your backyard. So we're taking the show on the road.
If you want Mobtown Live to come and be live from your backyard, you can let us know. Email Sarah, SARAH, at mobtownballroom.com. If you want, our Venmo at Mobtown-Live is at the bottom of your screen. We are going to try and invest in some new technology in order to keep upping the exceptional quality of the Mobtown Live that you're used to. And also go and like and subscribe all of our stuff, YouTube, Facebook. I'm supposed to say that. And yeah, on today's show, we have the incredible Breai Mason Campbell. But before we do that, the lovely Michael Seguin is going to make us a cocktail while we look at the top comments in a bit.
I've always wanted to be the lovely. I feel like women had a historic stranglehold on that phrase, and now it's mine.
Finally something the patriarchy can have just for ourselves.
We're going to start off. We're going to make a cocktail tonight, Sarah, that is called the Black Manhattan. And Manhattan with Amaro, because I am fed up with these summer drinks with all the fruit juice and the sugar. They make me feel weird. I can have one, and then if I have two, I freak out, and then I crash. So we're going to go for some winter drinking. I got to do this.
Need a fresh cup, right?
There was water in the ice, so because it was melting because of this god-awful summer. This is what's going to happen. We're going to start with a cup of ice. We're going to take our rye whiskey or bourbon, whatever you like. This is Rittenhouse. It's good for you. And we're going to put 2 ounces to 2.5 ounces in the cup, like so. I've just moved in here. I don't have all my shit.
2 to 5 ounces.
In fact, make it in the bottle if you can.
Yeah, this is Amaro. This is Averna. Let's see if I can get a good shot of it. There you go. It's on the sweet side of Amaro's, which makes it, like not too far from vermouth, so it's not going to scandalize you. And we're going to say 2 to 1. So 2 ounces of rye to 1 ounce of whatever this is, Averna. Okay, put that in the cup. We're going to put the lid on that so we don't have ants. That's how you get ants. You're going to take 1 dash of Angostura bitters. Poof. Ah, shit.
Do you know anything about the history of this?
No, I looked it up on the internet like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, Caleb, if Caleb were here, he could tell us all about it.
Yeah, okay, Caleb can do it. 1 dash of orange bitters. All right.
Orange bitters. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's a bartender's secret that if somebody wants you to like make something special for them and you are feeling bored / not that good at it like me, you just make a Manhattan variation. Then you stir this thing. And you stir it until the color's right.
I believe you're supposed to do approximately 15 seconds, right? Isn't that what
So it depends on your stirring speed, right?
And aren't you supposed to face Italy?
You're supposed to wave it towards Italy if it's martini. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to one of the shows.
So we stirred. We then pour this into a glass. And if you had not just moved into your new place, you would garnish it with a cherry. But I ain't got that kind of fancy nonsense. And then you have this. And it looks like a Manhattan, and it tastes like a Manhattan with some zoo. And
I think it's
not at all
kind
summery.
of better. Averna is a lot better than vermouth, in my opinion. But that will like hit you a little harder,
It will. Yeah. And if you use something like I can't pronounce it, the CYNAR.
Chunar.
That shit makes it really have a kick, and that's good for you. That will cure what ails you. Should something be ailing you.
My favorite thing to do with Averna is to mix it halvesies with mezcal in a shot.
Delicious.
Yeah, so good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Why don't Michael? You want to talk us through the top comments?
Yeah, let's do it, Sarah. You and me, bro. What do we got? Lay it on me.
Oh, hold on. I don't know how to do this anymore. Everything's different. There we go.
Where am I going to see this, Hachi?
In Zoom? Can you see it in? Can you see it in Zoom? Right?
No, I can't see shit.
What?
Hold on. I bet I can.
It's working. I can see it in Zoom.
Switch to gallery view, Michael. Okay.
I am in gallery view.
From Tabby.
Oh, yeah, you do it.
Bill Henry, Brandon is calling you out. And then Bill Henry, Tabby Drum. Let me guess, another Grecian formula joke. And then he threatened Brandon Scott. So hopefully the throwdown of jokes will happen next season. I hope so.
Yeah, everybody watching, if you were not here last week, we got the future mayor to get in a battle with the future comptroller because we love chaos.
Yeah, and they're having like a joke off or something. So we'll schedule that for next season. But just to keep it fresh, you should probably like tag them on things and instigate a friendly joke brawl.
Yeah, they don't have
Welcome, Brandon Scott and Bill Henry.
Next up, what's up?
Well, they're definitely not advancing. So
Maybe that was the only top comment.
Hold on a second. Hey!
Yay! Mom, go. I mean, Michael, I just called you Mom. Michael, go for it.
Oh. No trashing mom. Oh, that's Cindy Sullivan. We all love Cindy. You can't tell based on what show we're in whether or not she's going to be the friendly, I love this Cindy, or the hypercritical, like, what are you doing with your life, Cindy? I think both of them are equally entertaining. Also, someone just asked if I made an Archer reference. I did. What?
My comments keep freezing because I'm literally pushing all that my tiny houses, my large houses, tiny internet has to offer. So I can't read any of the comments and I'm sad.
That's okay.
I hope they're good.
Right. Oh, wait. Oh, I see.
Oh, Brandy wanted us to ask someone about their art recs. And we did, I believe. So
we did.
Good job making that one funny. This is comments that Michael will respond to instead of
in correspondence.
Oh yeah, so Brandy, dear Brandy, I saw your comment on our show.
Wait, Michael, where's the drink you just made? Is it on deck? On deck. Got it.
Michael said, that's right, Charlie. It's always a good sign when one of your top comments is a self-referential one by someone who's on the show.
But it's also in quotations, so you really don't know how deep to go.
Oh, that's true. Who were you quoting, Michael?
No, it was the Frederick Douglass House situation where Charlie, this is a hall of mirrors right now. Charlie commented saying something historical. We said that to the Frederick Douglass House guy, and then the Frederick Douglass House guy was like, that's right, Charlie. And it came all the way around.
Got it.
And somewhere Charlie's hair stood up and he had a lovely week after that.
Yeah, he shivered a little bit. I hate my life that this is what we're talking about. Continue.
And another one about you.
Star. Michael, let us turn on the AC. He's so giving.
I have turned into the dude, like the grandpa who's like, we're not paying to cool the outdoors, that kind of thing in the ballroom. You're like doing creative art stuff that makes us money, and I'm like, turn off the air conditioning. Sorry, everyone. Eventually you end up becoming who you are.
Oh, that was deep. Let's come back to that during your segment. For now, keep it to yourself. I'm just kidding. But you are tastemakers, is what Janice said. Yeah, and today we're going to have a new segment called Taste Making with Michael Seguin, where he's going to just make some of your taste.
We're going to go over underappreciated books and unread classics. It's a whole hodgepodge.
I'm pretty stoked about it.
Just page through the Gutenberg Bible slowly.
We'll get there.
Are there any more?
I don't know. I think so.
I thought he was going to say pants.
That was my
Sabinar.
Personal favorite from last week.
Do you know what it's about?
I have no idea. I think he was just misheard Brandon Scott talking about something. But I enjoy pants, so.
Perfect.
Maybe one more? Nope.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nope. All right, that's it. So, time for Breai, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's let her into this shindig.
All right, everybody. So Breai Mason Campbell is a local activist. Ooh, nice picture, Breai. And teacher and community organizer and historian, and mom, and she does like basically everything. And I didn't print out your formal bio, Breai. I just kind of figured I'd talk about you.
It's totally fine.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? Wait, where'd the lovely go?
The lovely. He muted himself and turned off the camera. Michael, you're welcome to join us.
What's up? I'm back.
Oh,
I wanted to use your new nickname first, the lovely.
Thanks, Breai.
That's not going anywhere.
I enjoy our banter.
All right. So, that's what I meant to do. Play the video. So first, before we talk about anything, we're going to play the video about moving history. Do you want to give a quick sort of what is moving history, Breai, or would you like to just have the video explain it?
Video first.
Okay, go for it. Video.
Going for it.
Going for
Turn
it.
Going for it.
Moving History is a civil rights and workforce development program which trains young artists from Baltimore to teach African American history through music and dance. Moving History accomplishes this work during in and out of school time while simultaneously creating a pipeline to job opportunities for teens and young adults. Teaching artists skilled in African American vernacular traditions including breaking, popping, jazz, Lindy Hop, Baltimore Club, and West African dance work with student interns who offer support in the classroom as they prepare to lead their own independent lessons. In our 2018-2019 season, Moving History reached 200 students across the city, and 100% of surveyed parents reported that their children learned facts about African American history and culture. A more positive perspective about African American culture as a result of participation in the program was also reported by most parents. Student interns of the project traveled to New Orleans in the spring to study the origins of jazz by visiting Congo Square, a key destination point of the Middle Passage. Classes with local master instructors and a special performance in the French Quarter were important parts of this experience, which culminated in our youth teaching classes for Arise Academy in the lower 9th Ward, completely independently, successfully taking leadership in a new environment.
Your father's arm to your face, to your right shoulder. And that's how you started. So your start your face that O. So basically, your father is going to start off walking straight. And then at the end, when they can't walk no further, they're going to turn. Because their arm is going to cut them off. And you want to finish it off.
In June, select interns traveled to Harang Dance Camp in Sweden to attend 2 weeks of intensive training in Lindy Hop, West African, tap, vernacular jazz, and dance history. Harang is an international hub where 38 nations of the world gathered in the weeks we attended camp to exchange culture and expertise. This year, Guardian will continue the important work of engaging youth with both an online platform and socially distanced in-person experiences with our team of dedicated instructors and student teachers.
All right, make an X. Yes, X. Number one. On your bottom, 2. Next to 3. Airplane, near. Wrap in front, 4. Step back, 5. Step back, 6. And rest. Who got it? Me.
All right. That was amazing, Breai. And yeah, so we're just going to dive right in, if that's cool, after the picture of me in a dashiki. It was sanctioned and required, everybody. And I'll never wear it again, even though I love it and I frequently look at it.
It's just waiting in your closet for
if
the
that's
world
cool,
to be
after
ready.
the picture of me in a dashiki.
We'll
Exactly.
We'll get there, believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, that's all of our goal, for a white lady to be able to wear a dashiki out in public. That's really okay.
That's what we're working toward out here.
Okay, so as I guess I want to start with the history stuff. So as a teacher in Baltimore, and you've been teaching for how many years?
Oh my God, if I tell you that, people can calculate my age. I don't think I went a long time.
So about 30 years, and that's a joke.
Jesus.
Forever, like a long time.
But a long time. Like I think it's something that gives you credit.
Like 18 years I've been teaching.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. So as someone who's been teaching and you're a historian and a parent, what's your perspective on the United States history education that people in Baltimore City get?
Oh boy. So first I have to say that there are so many people, like just great human beings who are teachers and who recognize that there are issues and do their best. And that includes our school leaders, you know, the leader of the school system in general, who want things to be different. So I want to just respect the fact that often we're caught between a rock and a hard place when it is that we're trying to change things. Still, I've got to say that for, 16 years, I began my career, even these last 2 years, the first thing I do with kids with my first grade students, I teach dances from Guinea. I teach Ghanaian dance because kids are running around calling themselves African American with very little understanding of what Africa is. I couldn't find it on the map. And, is that a curricular issue? Is that like a priorities issue? Is that a testing issue? It's some combination of all of those things. But I ask kids, we do these things that teachers do called KWL charts. Like, what do you know? What do you want to know? What have you learned? I ask kids, what do you know about Africa? And they go, it's dirty. They don't got no shoes. They poor. And I'm just like, that's what you know about Africa? That's it. But then we spend the year, learning djembe rhythms and learning about clothing and language and culture. And then by the end of the year, they're up on stage with somebody playing drums and them in like traditional clothing and people are clapping. And hopefully what they've done is balanced out that idea of Africa is dirty and poor with, oh, it's beautiful and has a rich history and there are all these great things about it. So I am not going to point an uninformed finger at whose fault it is that our children think that Africa is poor and dirty. But I do know that when I've met middle school students, what they tend to know about Africa is there was slavery and it's hot. And there are elephants. And why that's all our students know, again, I'm not going to point an uninformed finger about that, but it's true. Like, I just wonder, this is a challenge audience. Just ask a child in your life, what do you know about Africa? And see what their first response is. My guess is going to be hot, elephants, or poverty.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So did that lead you, I guess, how did that inform your moving history, your decision to create this curriculum?
So I, we're all facing, I think one thing that the world is doing at the moment is we're saying, well, we want to fix it, the ominous it. We're talking about abuse of power and structural racism and, inequity in general. And, each of us is, I think, drawn to something, some place where they feel like they are.
Hey, Michael, can you mute your... Oh, it's you. Okay. Okay. I thought it was Michael. Never mind.
Falsely accused.
Yeah. Don't talk about the lovely like that. That was not the lovely, okay? Leave the lovely out of this.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that, I came to this from the perspective of arts having been a huge part of my life. I remember listening to 92Q as a kid and putting a tape in the tape deck and recording my favorite songs. And I remember, standing outside with my friends and learning dances. I just remember how much, we get excited about going to concerts, and so much of our social life, if that was a family cookout or whatever, a wedding or whatever, it revolved around like music and dance. And so I thought, this is a place where I can kind of make an impact in how we understand our culture, how we understand who we are and what we think about ourselves, and work on some, some self-esteem and some rewriting of this narrative that we've accepted about who we are. That's like slavery, Martin Luther King. That's it. Obama. Slavery, Martin Luther King, Obama. That's your history. So I thought that if we could really take a look at the contributions African Americans have made, that it would be good for everybody, no matter what your skin color is, kids of all types, people of all types. So, you know, I call moving history kinetic African American history. So, you know, like we know the story of civil rights, for instance, like we shall overcome, like that's music we're comfortable with. We shall overcome someday, you know, Dr. King we're comfortable with, but are we comfortable with James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud? Like we notoriously like talking about Dr. King and really don't like talking about Malcolm X. I think we like talking about the church music, maybe so much don't like talking about the funk. But, you know, I really do believe that that Soul Train and all those funk musicians had a huge part to play in spreading this idea about Black love and Black beauty and Black equality, and in studying locking and studying Soul Train and talking about Don Cornelius being the first owner of a TV show, a Black owner of a TV show. I think builds a bigger narrative about what resistance looks like, because we have this one resistance narrative at the moment, which is, I think, kind of where we are as a nation. It's like we're going to go outside with a sign and we're going to protest, and that's what resistance is. But Soul Train was resistance. Like we are going to get the whole nation to stop everything you're doing and sit down in front of this TV for 1 hour of a day and be mesmerized by Black beauty, like the dancing and the movement and trying to learn these dances in your house, and you know, learning the names of all these artists from the staple singers and Stevie Wonder to the Temptations, and you know, I can't think of a Black artist that didn't get their start on there. So that's what it's about. It's just about broadening the story and looking at different narratives of resistance. Because if there's any time that we need to think about other ways that resistance looks, I think it's now.
Yeah, that's a really insightful. I'm curious. So in terms of, like, you touched a little bit on why dance is the sort of vehicle that you have chosen, and I know that from your work you're really focused on racial equity, and it seems pretty clear to me that, you know, the history that we're taught in school is not a representation of racial equity. What would racial equity look like in schools?
You know, I think, and again, I was, you know, much younger when I began this, but I remember the moment for me that I decided I had to do this. I remember the fourth grade, because, you know, the teachers have these meetings all together, and the fourth grade teacher, we were coming up with these projects around our learning. So we look at what the state standards tell us we have to teach. And then we're trying to decide how we're going to pack all that in and get these kids ready so they can learn something, be intelligent, contributing humans, and pass these state tests. And I'm like, so what do they have to know? She's like, oh, well, the fourth grade has to know all the Greek gods and, you know, Apollo's Zeus here. I'm thinking, what? Like, not that that is unimportant information, but I was like, the only thing you know about Africa is hot, elephants, and poor. But you need to know the names of the pantheon of Greek gods. It just felt so random. The good thing about that fourth grade curriculum is that they needed to know First Nations history. They needed to learn things about Maryland and Native peoples in America. I mean, in Maryland, but like there was this other add-on. Like, what is that about? Like, why don't we just focus on who's here and talk about that real story about, so rather, if we have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of resources, why don't we prioritize things? If this land initially belonged and belongs still to First Nations people, we should know that history. That should be required of everyone. And if the people who built this land, blood, sweat, and tears, are the African peoples who were, you know, kidnapped and brought here, we should know their history. Like, we just need to prioritize what folks need to know. Like, how did America really become America? And I don't really know that, like, space for Aphrodite is on the menu.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and clearly, if we're trying to build the framework of what our world is in the minds of young people, like, there's a reason that we leave certain things out and include other things in there. And yeah, I'm curious, and you mentioned this slightly, but is moving history for all kids or just for Black kids? And if it's for all kids, why do you think it's important that everybody learn Black history and have a curriculum like Moving Histories?
Yeah, so it's definitely for all kids. I initially, I was calling it African American history, but then I realized that felt like, oh, well, that's for those people. But no, this is like American history. This is everyone's history, the same way that I might be expected in a civics class to know the names of the presidents or when this war happened or that war happened or whatever. Like, this is all American history. Like, we should understand that, you know, I don't know, like anytime we would send like a record into space, like aliens, when you get to know us, have this Chuck Berry record. Like, why are we sending that to the aliens, but we don't even teach that to our students?
Huh.
Like, the aliens need to know who Chuck Berry is, but our kids don't. You know, the kids can know Elvis. We'll tell the aliens the truth. It doesn't quite make sense to me. So I think that we all need to know how our communities are built. We'd be, I think, less confused about what's happening. And I feel like we'd have more insight into how to move through what we're struggling with if we would, I don't know, learn the whole story.
Yeah, it leads me to a question that I was going to ask later, which is, you know, I've noticed, especially with the people who grew up around me, or who, you know, grew up a little before me, that a lot of these conversations about changing the world around us for the better end or like get stuck at a point where there's a lack of imagination about how things could look and who we could be and how we could structure society. And I'm talking about things both in terms of like, you know, when you say defund the police, people have like they're like, either we have police or like we're all running around without pants on murdering each other. And those are the only two things they can see. Or like, you know, everything from like school segregation and even just like who I could be versus who you could be. I guess, how do you think that the history education that we've all had impacts that? And have you noticed a difference in the students that that you've taught this curriculum to, especially the ones who are older now?
You know, sometimes my son will walk in if I'm like watching a movie and he'll try to make sense of what I'm watching. And he'll say something like, well, is he a good guy or a bad guy? Like this very dichotomous way of looking at things. Like it's this or it's that. And this, of course, you know, is biblical to me because it's like when I was a child, I spake as a child. Like I think a lot of us are still in this very like just, I don't want to call it childish because then I'm calling people names, but in this very kind of simplistic way of looking at things. Like it's either police or it's anarchy, you know, it's either this or it's that. But how do we take small steps forward? And I do feel like history ends up, I don't know, like this superhero narrative. Like it's got to be very concrete. Like these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. Because a complicated story is a difficult one to understand. We want things to be one thing or the other. And I think that is more cultural and bigger than the way that we learn history in school. I think that that's the way, that's part of what we struggle as folks in the US, around how we justify war, how we justify enslavement. There's got to be a good guy and a bad guy. You know, the cowboys are like, you know, heroes who are going to explore and conquer against the savages of the West. You know, I feel like this hero and villain narrative is about either ors, blacks and whites, which I think is why we're so locked into this not being able to understand how to move out of either or thinking into more complex thinking. I think that we don't get a lot of opportunity to work on it. I think that a lot of our spiritual communities are very like that, like a very Candyland narrative of our relationship with God. Like, if you're good, you move forward 5 paces. You were bad, you go back down to 0. But when you make it all the way to the top, you're the best you can be. Like, we have this very linear, hierarchical ideology of how things work. And that is cultural. And I think that a lot of that is based in our sense of morality that I do think comes from our religious systems being very like, good kids go to heaven, bad kids go to hell.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to start unpacking and unpacking our sense of morality and right and wrong and who's good and who's bad and what's good and what's bad before we can really move forward at all. I can't blame my history teacher for that. I think that's just something bigger. It's our kind of stepford suburban America, I think, that's holding that together, and our kind of I don't know.
I mean, it's like at the core of all of American mythology. Like, we left because we were being persecuted and we're awesome. And oh yeah, we brought some slaves over, but forget about that because
we're so awesome.
Yeah. And
they're bad, right?
Right. And yeah, so I guess to me, and I think to a lot of people who are watching because they're in our like sort of demographic politically oftentimes, this doesn't seem like a super divisive thing, but at the same time I could totally see how you could face some backlash by saying these things out loud. Have you faced any, like, how's Moving History been received? Have you faced any obstacles?
Yeah, well, this year is different than the other years because this year, you know, we have this this new space to be honest about race and racism in ways we haven't before. Like initially when I was calling it an American history program, it wasn't really because I'd made that step forward in my mind about this being important to everyone. It was because when I said African American history, people bristled. If I say I want to come teach African American history to your kid, oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to deal with race issues. They're divisive. No. So if I say it's an American history program, I'm still teaching the same curriculum, but without, you know, ruffling feathers. Now when I'm saying it no, because you need to know this, right? Because it's your history too. But it took me time to get there. But there's definitely things I don't like say out loud or, you know.
Of course.
Just because I just feel like people aren't ready and I don't feel like arguing. It's just like, let's just start here. And if we can get this going, then we can move forward and do some other things. So, I mean, I think the resistance is just around, is this really necessary? Our kids need like math and they need to read and write. Like this is extra, like these are add-ons, or this is divisive, or how's my child going to feel in this class? Like the whole white fragility thing, like,
right.
You know, are you teaching kids something? Or I've definitely heard pushback, like, you know, this thing is all about Black people. There's more than just Black people here. And it's just like,
yeah, well, there were more than just Black people in our school, and we learned or more than just white people.
Just white people. I know what you meant.
There was a question in what you just said that I had, and I'm trying to come back to. Oh, so this is going to be a Rat King question that I'm half making up and half already told you about, but so I've noticed that a lot of, I mean, anyone with eyes has noticed that a lot of nonprofits in Baltimore have staff who aren't from the communities that they're serving. And I think that's changed a lot in the past like 5 or 6 years as nonprofits have become more aware of things, and not just nonprofits, you know, corporations or small businesses, whatever. And I noticed that you not only seem to be hiring people from the community, but you're trying to hire people from the program, like training up young people. I'm curious what your methodology behind that is. And then also, I'm curious how do you, as someone who has years of like soft skills and hard skills experiences, you know, someone who's lived your life as a Black woman in Baltimore City and also has devoted your life's work to all of these things. How do you bring your staff in on all this stuff without, you know, because you can't like brain dump all of it into them. How do you get your staff to I guess, represent you and be on board with the ideas without, you know, being able to change the fact that a 22-year-old's brain is different than a, you know, 35-year-old's brain.
Well, the piece about staff from community, I think, you know, my dream and like my heart of hearts, like I think about a school like Baltimore School for the Arts that's focused on African-American arts, like where you could, you know, major in dance and you can do Lindy or locking or breaking, and, you know, you have some kind of major, like everyone has to take West African dance because that's like a requirement.
For the people who don't know as much about BSA, can you explain what BSA is and what the auditions are like?
So Baltimore School for the Arts is, it's not the only art school anymore, because there's two other options or that I can think of at the moment. I know there's Carver and there's Towson, but for a long time it was like the only school to go to. And it's, I mean, like Jada Pinkett Smith went there and Tupac went there. It's like a big deal. And it's like, you know, Baltimore's Juilliard. And people are like lined up down the street, like 1,000. Now I'm making up numbers, but I think of it as like 1,000 kids trying to get to like 20 spots. That's how I think of it. Like I've seen so many kids audition and watch so many 8th graders that I've had, you know, crying because they didn't get in. And I thought, you know, what if I wanted to hire somebody to teach modern dance or jazz, I could go to UMBC or Goucher or Towson and go right to the education program and find someone who's trained as a professional and who can teach. If I want someone who's going to teach breaking or locking or popping, I got to go to a jam. And they could be amazing dancers that have natural gifts as teachers and cultivated gifts as teachers because they're doing the each one teach one, which is part of the culture. They may not have that professional history though, like some of those some of those navigating skills that we learn in university about, you know, how to fill out this paperwork and how to create this lesson plan and how to do some of these things that paying for the program really requires, because in order to satisfy what the grant wants, they want these things like written down. So someone can have all this skill set in this area and be missing some of these things that you learn when you go through our kind of university system. So then I have to create the pipeline. So if I'm saying I want kids to have access to great Baltimore club instructors in the same way if you went to BSA, you had access to great ballet instructors. Or I want kids to have great access to great Lindy Hop instructors or great locking instructors so that they're getting that kinetic history. Like, oh, I understand what civil rights is about. It's not just about, marching, though it is a lot about that. It's about, standing in your own dignity. It's about wearing your hair nappy and in an afro and, moving your hips a lot and like being unapologetic about what your body looks like. I think that's an important moment of embodiment to really get it, especially kids who have different ways of learning. So I try to build that pipeline in the neighborhood because those kids will have cultural competency. They will have that a memory of African-American history that's been a part of their life and part of their experience. And a lot of those young dancers who are coming up, just with this other set of professional skills, they just have a much broader access to different kind of jobs they could have. In terms of me and my interaction with my staff, like I can't do a brain dump. I mean, but now we've hit upon like my growth curve as like a leader and a director. Like it's hard for me not to try to just brain dump what I'm doing on that 22-year-old person. I'm like, I've been doing this for 18 years, but this is what we're trying to do. And
I guess what I'm getting at with that is that we frequently talked about what it's like to manage people. And I have, you knew me when I was 22. And I was like that white girl, I majored in peace studies. I was so excited to be involved. But like, there was so much that I was missing that if you harnessed my energy, there was a risk of me being a wild card and just like going out and doing something, I'm curious if
I've got a name in my head. I'm not going to say it. See, I'm editing.
Yeah. But I just mean like, it's a common thing. And I encounter now too, where somebody, young people have all this energy and all of this passion and all of this intelligence and a huge lack of experience when it comes to certain things. And I imagine with a program like yours, that lack of experience isn't the same in every single person. And I guess I don't really have a question.
Well, I'm hoping that the model that we have set up for interning will help mitigate some of that. It's like, you're going to be in a classroom with, you know, a lead instructor, watching what they do, taking professional development classes, sitting in on lectures, making relationships in community. And none of that makes a 22-year-old, you know, 35 or whatever, but
it sets them up to be a good 35-year-old.
Right. That's the hope. That's the goal. And we each have our own, like I have my own issues, you know, like I am not perfect and people are not perfect. And hopefully we can get a team where we can balance each other out. But I'm learning to kind of let people make their mistakes and identify which mistakes are like, that cannot be a part of the group. That has to go. And that's a part of what it means to grow up and do this work. And I remember when I was struggling through something like that, and that's just kind of part of the process. But like I said, that's a growth curve for me, because that's the hardest part, like trying to, I don't know, shepherd something of this magnitude.
I mean, and of course, like while you're juggling every other element of the program, like there's no one else who's holding all of it in their head at one time.
Right. Hopefully there are people like, you know, I remember I had a couple babies along the way and stepped out, and people stepped up and they knew what to do. And there was enough going on. There had been enough information sharing and knowledge passing that the company kept going without me there. And that makes me hopeful. That was good.
We're a little
being one of those people that stepped up. I remember you being one of those people who stepped up.
Oh, well, thank you. Are you willing to keep talking for a couple more minutes, or you gotta go?
I know. I'm happy to take it to wherever you think a good end is.
Cool. I guess one real quick one and then a longer one. The quick one is, you just described what the intern program sort of looks like for the people in it. What does the moving history program look like a class in moving history look like for a young person?
So if you are a student, and again, this is different in the virtual world. So I'm going to describe something that hasn't happened yet versus describing what it looked like before. So we hope to have synchronous and asynchronous lessons. So synchronous is like, right now we're doing something at the same time. Like I could stand up and start teaching movement, and we could be at this Zoom with, 15, 20 other kids in one class, learning something with me in real time. Mm-hmm. Now, hopefully once COVID is where it needs to be for us to be safe, we could be having this synchronous lesson, but someplace else, even if we're in an outdoor environment, in a field, under a pavilion, someplace where maybe with smaller numbers, 1 to 8 or something, we could be learning about, I'm thinking about a lesson that King Mike did. He's a popping instructor who came in to work with our company.
Awesome.
He was like teaching us about waves, just like how to do the wave, like literally. Like, so kids are like learning these things, but they're also learning about who are the electric boogaloo's, who are the original poppers, where the poppy movement come from, this community in California, and this like young youth arts movement with these young African-American people, and who they were and why they were doing what they were doing. Or there could be an asynchronous lesson, which means learning on your own time. And, Charlie created this asynchronous lesson that's like, great. It's like he put up 3 pieces of music, 3 pieces of jazz music. It's talking about jazz and the Great Migration, the fact that literally that music moved up the Mississippi from, New Orleans to points north in the Great Migration. So it's like, listen to these 3 pieces of music and tell me which one you like best. Like, make a little video of yourself talking about which one you like. But that's getting kids to like listen and engage in music that they wouldn't necessarily hear on the radio, and like thinking about it in a different way, and a chance to interact with one another, even in the virtual environment, by watching videos and creating response videos. So that's the kind of deal in the virtual world.
That's really cool.
And
How can people support this program?
Donations, cash donations are wonderful because it's like, we want to do this roller skating pilot program, but it's like, it's not in the budget. So I need to like buy roller skates for kids because if, roller skates are $65 a piece, a set, not a piece. But few of them. So if we want to say we want to do this pilot program for 10 kids, that's like $650 just on the skates. Then we need to pay the instructor.
Right.
But roller dance is like a huge part of African American social history and like what that's all about in these like Black spaces where people are going for self-expression, really similar to Lindy Hop in terms of like the kind of social meaning and social practice of it.
Yeah, the first time I saw people partner skating, like it was videos from what's it called? Shake and Bake?
Shake and Bake. Mm-hmm.
And it just blew my mind. I was just like, and it was when my knee had exploded, so I couldn't go out and roller skate, but it's cool.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania Avenue where Shake and Bake is like the center of like jazz history in Baltimore with it was called the Chitlin Circuit, like, since Black folks couldn't go into segregated venues, people would be in the Chitlin Circuit, those Black clubs on Pennsylvania Avenue, and the Royal Theater was there, and that's where you see the statue of Lady Day, and like, this roller skating venue is there with this great wood floor. I would love to see like some kind of collaboration between like the Lindy world and the skating world. I just feel like, but and then also like, if people feel like they have other skills, like if you've got video editing skills, like there's so many technical skills that are required to make this enterprise run. If people have hours, like maybe they don't have money, but they have hours, like, I could donate, this many hours of video editing or this many hours of archiving or this many hours of, I do data management or I do grant writing or whatever. Mm-hmm. You never know if all those skill sets. I can think of 20 skill sets that are super duper valuable to the work. And I would love to be in touch with people who could volunteer to support in those ways.
So the email address, the PayPal and email address that's at the bottom of your screens, everybody, that people can both email you with that address and also donate through PayPal, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. And what is your website?
It's www.guardianbaltimore.com. Now I know that there's this other Guardian in town that is like a jiu-jitsu gym or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recently have discovered that.
They're .org, but we're .com. And if you go on there and you see jiu-jitsu, you're in the wrong place. So
yeah, this is a good idea. And I was going to ask you all about Guardian, but we're out of time. So I think people should go to guardianbaltimore.com and check it out. There's a lot of really awesome examples of work. There's videos of the Moving History Project. There's all sorts of things. Is there anything lastly that you want to add, Breai?
Live long and prosper? I don't
know. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and for
having me. Thanks, Mobtown.
Woohoo! All right. Have a good one. Hi, Michael. You're back.
Heyo. God, I love Breai. Can you hear me?
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good.
I just wanted everyone to hear the story about how I accepted a coffee invite from Breai, and then like 1 week later was teaching children 5 days a week.
Oh yeah, she's a gifted volunteer coordinator or recruiter, I guess I would say. Yeah. We call it getting Breai'd because all of us. It's like you want to come help out? Yeah. Okay, here's 30 kids. Good luck. See ya. That is an exaggeration, Breai. If you're still watching, it's not really like that, people.
She's wicked too, though. She started with compliments. She was like, like she really like white people whispering, like, I like you. I think you're, and then like the children are climbing on me and falling off the stage. I have a lot of respect for her. Also, somebody referred to her in the comments as a good talker, meaning somebody who can just roll with any question, and that is the truth.
Oh, because I just like mangled all those questions?
No, because there's no pause. She doesn't go, huh? She goes, here's everything I have to say on this.
Right.
My brain is going twice as fast as my mouth.
Mm-hmm. It's true. What do we have next? I got to
It's
pull this. Oh,
it's my time.
it's your time. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Why don't
So,
you stick around though?
Me?
I mean, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I might have to leave to go to the bathroom for a minute, but yes,
That's cool. So,
you're welcome for that information.
are we ready?
Sure.
All right. So I was sitting around today, and I'm actually glad that Breai quoted the Bible like 4 times because I got a hobby horse about this. I was sitting around today thinking about what I wanted to talk about with books for our final episode for the season finale of this glorious show. And I wanted to talk about underappreciated books and unread classics. And it's a hodgepodge. There's great books, there's unknown books, and we're going to get right into it with one of my favorite books, the Bible.
Oh gosh.
Everybody.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Actually, Hachi, if you've never read the Bible, you're going to want to after Michael talks about it. I, in fact, bought a copy of the Bible when I was younger and had Michael earmark all the best parts and then slowly tried to work my way through it and then gave up. I don't know where it is now.
Well, if my mom is watching, I have the Bible that she gave me. So.
Oh, perfect.
We got to talk about a couple of things. The first thing is, it is I heard someone say the other day, someone I love very much, say that the Bible has been translated so many times, no one knows what it means. That is utter nonsense, right? The Bible's been translated a bunch from the original languages. They've translated it so many times that they get better all of the time. We know more about it. It's the most studied book in history, and it's awesome and wild and funny. And when you're dealing with your sort of fundamentalist Christians, they don't know their Bible. They haven't read it. I guarantee you. Anybody who's really read the Bible, 1, enjoys it, and 2, realizes that it doesn't make any cohesive sense. It's more of an ongoing attempt to deal with the struggles of life. And it has been hugely important in the Black church, and which was wrapped up in the civil rights movement and still is wrapped up in civil rights movements. And so when my fellow lefty goons start mouthing off about the Bible, I get a little bit aggravated because it's ignorant, right? And they need to read it, and then they need to understand the beauty of the language involved in all this and everything that's happened. So this is what I'm going to recommend. The King Jimmy version of the Bible. The old King Jimmy. Nothing else. People will tell you it's inaccurate, and there's like a couple of famous errors in it, but the language is glorious. And it's also, the syntax is about as close as you can get to Greek. I don't read Hebrew. One more thing. People talking shit about the Bible, and I am a heathen, let us remember. I think it borders on anti-Semitism once in a while, because look at the Bible, all right? This tiny part, that's the so-called New Testament. That's the Christian stuff. This part, the part nobody reads, except for Jewish people.
Woohoo!
The Hebrew Bible, it is, I'm going to say
I had no idea. That's insane.
This is the Jewish part. This is the sort of Christian part. Read your Bible. First unread classic. Also, if you want to learn about the history of Christianity and how this sort of is developed, sub-book, Christianity by Diarmaid MacCulloch. Very big book, worth every second.
Oh, that's a Da Vinci Code, right?
It is the Da Vinci Code. Are you ready for the next book?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, you're going pretty quick. I looked down to read the comments and missed whatever you just said.
Oh, I'm not looking at
You want me
comments.
to read? You want me to watch the Da Vinci Code? Is that?
Yeah, watch the Da Vinci Code. We're gonna talk about the Bible some more. But my next book, and this is sort of a deep cut, if you will, is The Golden Ass by Apuleius from the mid to late 3rd century AD, translated by the famous writer and poet Robert Graves. I like this translation a lot. This is a psychotic and psychedelic book from the ancient world, written in Latin, about a guy who really wants to learn witchcraft and magic and ends up getting turned into a donkey by a witch. And he needs to eat rose petals in order to be unturned into a donkey. And he goes through wild adventures in the ancient world, which becomes off much more colorful than sort of the columns that Trumpian administrators want to festoon the land with. And meets lots of people, and they tell lots of stories, and it's one of those sort of nested books where there's stories, inside of people who told stories. One of the great stories being the myth of Cupid and Psyche, which is about Psyche, which means soul in Greek, who the god Cupid sort of took to be his wife, and she lived in a palace, and it was wonderful. And then her jealous and evil sisters, who thought she was dead originally, show up, and they they convinced her, the rule, and this is fucked up, this is some weird misogyny stuff, but the rule was that she couldn't look at him ever. He would come to her at night. And if she was ever to look at him, there'd be dire consequences. And the sisters convince her to look at the god Cupid. She looks and he flees, and then she has to go chase him around. And it's a very deep, sad story. The donkey, Lucius, the main character donkey, also has sex with a woman as a donkey. And that's the issue.
What?
Yeah, it's great. It's a wild book. It's not for kids.
Say that one more time. A woman with the donkey body.
Yeah, he's a man in the body of a donkey having sex in public with a woman.
So she's into it?
Yes, actually.
I had a weirdly similar nightmare last night. There were no donkeys involved, but anyway, continue.
Well, Hachi, it is in the book. She is into it. I do not want to go farther down that road, but let me put it this way: the ancient world contains a lot of stuff that people think of as sort of like lofty and also sometimes wicked, because it often was wicked, but it also has some rip-roaring good tales. This book was originally called The Metamorphoses of Apuleius, which makes sense because a precursor to it was Ovid's Metamorphoses, which is another psychedelic book that weaves a tale from beginning to end with no breaks, and is also trigger warning, everything bad happens in it, but it'll change your All right, are you ready? I still got time.
Oh, there you got all the time in the world, bro.
Right.
I mean,
This is
the
your
comments
show.
are really all over the place, I would say, whether or not people are approving of this.
Someone just said hashtag horse girls. Wow.
I think they're picking up what you want to put down, what you're trying to put down.
All right.
My
not
mom
gonna
just
look at
keeps making this emoji. Oh, wait, people can't see me. The emoji where you're hitting yourself, a face smack, whatever it's called.
I'll tell you people when I'm serious, which is seriously read the Bible. Apuleius, read it. Like, it's a good book to keep by the toilet. Let me put it that way. It's you'll like it, but it's weird. Next, something that you need to read, and you probably haven't because it's on every college syllabus, but nobody seems to attack it otherwise, is John Milton. John Milton, right there. This is a good old-fashioned university press copy when they made books for real. I've had this for many years. And the book I want to recommend to you is Paradise Lost, the great epic poem, right? Written when he was blind and poor and everything was terrible. 17th century. Milton is the second greatest poet in the English language by popular acclaim, next to Shakespeare. And I know that gets into all sorts of canonical issues, but let's say for the sake of argument that's right. But nobody actually reads it. People read Shakespeare for pleasure. Once out of college, it seems like nobody reads Milton. And it's a crying shame because it is one of the most beautiful books written by somebody who was probably not a great person in his personal life, but suffered to the extent that towards the end of his life, he sort of stepped into a wisdom that is almost impossible to describe and wrote this epic poem that allegedly he would wake up and he would have dreamt lines from it and would just recite them to somebody who wrote them down as amanuensis. But it's about the fall of humankind in the Garden of Eden, and it's about Satan coming to tempt people, and Satan seems like the hero and adopts the normal epic hero role and slowly gets whittled away, but he's got this magnificent tragic language. And it ends with a turn towards the human that is probably a better description of what suffering and human life is like than anything written by a secular author ever. I'm obviously on a
Bold
Christian
claims.
kick. Yeah. I'm on a Christian kick right now because I feel like my fellow lefties are, they got this sort of like secular hard-on that's starting to bore me. They should listen to the Black Church and John Milton more often.
And the Jews.
And the Jews. Let's not forget the Jews. Boom. We're getting towards the end. Next book. Romola. Can you see that? Romola by George Eliot. Also, I'm a big fan of Penguin editions because you can just shred them. Good stuff. George Eliot, as some of you may know, was the writer of the great book Middlemarch. Look at the book. She wrote wonderful novels, was the best novelist in English as far as I'm concerned. Wrote under a male pen name, obviously, George Eliot. And famously, Charles Dickens.
Yeah, I love this story.
I know this freaks me out. I don't know what to make of it, but it happened. Charles Dickens read her first book, her first full novel, Adam Bede, and wrote a review of it and said, "This book is awesome. I love it." And also, it's by a woman.
Like he didn't know. He just
he didn't know her. He called it before it happened, and it helped sort of jumpstart a career. Not that it needed it, but she wrote under her pen name not because she was afraid of being, known as a woman, but because she was shacked up with a guy who could not get divorced because he approved of his wife's affair. His wife had an affair, and he said, "You know what? He's better for you. Get out of here." It was for all you polyamorous kids. And under the laws at the time, if you approved of it, you couldn't actually get divorced. It wasn't an affair in that sense. And him and George Eliot lived this life together, and she was afraid of being shamed for that. He was a philosopher. And at the end of her life, it came out who she was, and she was so beloved as a novelist that people sort of got over their Victorian nonsense. But this book, Romola, Romola, was the most famous book that she had until Middlemarch took over later on in literary history. And it's set in 15th century Florence, and it is a dark, twisted meditation on morality and good and evil. And it involved that Romola, the main character, takes up with an awful man who is very literate and charming, like fascinating man. And
Michael, you should have story hour.
I should.
You're pretty good at this.
Thank you, Sarah. And he turns out to be just absolute scum and a giant historical character. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Savonarola, who famously took over Florence and instituted sort of a theocracy. Weaves through this tale, and she meets with him, and she has duty and struggle. And there was just nobody on earth better at telling a story of the human mind sort of working itself out than George Eliot. I don't know. In the top 5 brilliant authors in world history, in my experience, George Eliot. This book is not often read because apparently nerds, they can read like a 10,000 page sci-fi series. They know who the Targaryens were. But they get scared by like a little bit of Florentine history, whatever.
I'm not scared of it. I just, figured it was better to spend 15 hours reading everything about A Song of Ice and Fire.
Cool, Hachi. Cool. We'll have to agree to disagree on that. Now we're going to see I've artfully created this situation. My next book is by C.S. Lewis.
Oh yay. I really have to go to the bathroom, but I don't want to miss C.S. Lewis.
Well, take him on your phone.
Take it on your phone. Yeah. Just make sure you mute yourself. This is an underappreciated classic, Till We Have Faces. And it is a retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche, which we talked about earlier from Apuleius, from the perspective of the wicked sisters, or the wicked sister in this case, just one, who tells her story that is essentially she's been duped by the gods into accidentally destroying her sister's life. And the book is sort of a account of her complaint against divinity. And it's incredible. It is very unchristian in a profound way. It was C.S. Lewis being kind of a badass. And I'm going to read you just one sentence from it, which is towards the end of the book when the character is actually literally taking her complaint to the gods to say, "Fuck you, gods." She says, "There must, whether the gods see it or not, be something great in the mortal soul. For suffering, it seems, is infinite, and our capacity without limit." Wonderful book, Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. It is an absolute pleasure. I'm not sure where it stands in the hierarchy of greatness, but I like it. Final recommendation, and then we're out. Right? This play is called Blues for Mr. Charlie by the great James Baldwin. James Baldwin wrote 2 plays, Blues for Mr. Charlie and The Amen Corner. The Amen Corner is about a black church in New York with a female minister. It's incredible. The DC Shakespeare Theater Company staged it last year, and it blew my mind.
Woo woo! I worked on that show.
Oh, did you, Hachi?
Yeah.
Was it beautiful?
I screwed in the set.
Oh, that's so good. Baldwin's plays are notoriously underread. Everyone loves his novels and his essays, and that they are good. This play is a sort of adaptation of the 1950s Emmett Till lynching murder situation. And it's unrelentingly grueling in its analysis of both the people in the town, how the black people in the town have to navigate the white people in the town, and also the person who does the murdering, the white person in this play. Baldwin sort of like pulls out for special notice and is weirdly humane towards in a way that made me want to cry. Like this guy writing, I think in the 60s, yes, 1964, was issuing compassion towards characters who were just devastating his community, had sort of this noble sense of, I got to understand him. And I'm going to read one passage from that because it's so good. He's talking about how he was writing this play, trying to figure out how to depict the murderer and how nobody ever thinks that they are a bad person. They always have a justification or some sort of understanding, but deep in their mind, they have to know that what they're doing is wrong. And that's sort of, he explodes into a description of the racial situation in America. And he says, what is ghastly and really almost hopeless in our racial situation now is that the crimes we have committed are so great and so unspeakable that the acceptance of this knowledge would lead literally to madness. The human being then, in order to protect himself, closes his eyes, compulsively repeats his crimes, and enters a spiritual darkness which no one can describe. And that is James Baldwin. That's the preface to that play, which might as well be a work of art on its own. Read that shit. It's super good. So good. Those are my recommendations. Finally, I'll say this right here, because we're talking about editions of books as well. If you have any money to spare, which you may or may not, but maybe put it on your Christmas list or something if you know people with money to spare, there is a 3-volume edition from the Library of America. It's a nonprofit. I love the Library of America. The goal was to keep great American authors fully in print, right? Even they're like sort of slightly lesser works. And it is all of his novels and his essays. And it is worth every cent. I have spent countless hours with these books with him blowing my mind. That's James Baldwin. Those are my recommendations.
Thanks, Michael. Did you just clap for yourself?
I'm done.
That was awesome. Thank you. I'll be walking over to your house to take copies of those books after the show. Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Where should people buy books? Oh, Sarah, I'm so glad you asked. I don't know if they're still watching. I saw that Joe was watching earlier. If you don't have any money, go to the library. Right, supporting libraries is an incredibly important thing. They have been the saviors of the intellectual life in America on a number of occasions, and they have also sort of nurtured an immense number of artists. Go to the library. And the Pratt has a whole system right now, so you can get books. Oh yeah, but if you can afford to spend some money, buy books and then give them away if you don't want to keep. But spending money on books keeps publishers in business. And if you're talking about living authors or even recently deceased authors and their estates and their children and whatnot, it makes the whole thing go round. Don't buy them from Amazon.
No, don't buy anything from Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, it's in general, but it's also just devastated the publishing industry, and now it's fighting its way back. Find your local bookstore, and usually they can get shit to you in 2 days. Yeah, just like quick. Amazon. We're fans of Charm City Books in Baltimore because they're 2 scrappy upstarts. They're delightful folks, and they've been going around delivering books during the pandemic. And they also are getting a scooter so that they can scooter books to you. With some kind of ice cream attachment? It will scooter you an ice cream sandwich. That is the future of books. Amazon's not going to do that.
See, Michael, I would read if it came with ice cream.
Right, also, I'll say I went in there today, and it was just so pleasant to see their dogs again. They have these 2, like some kind of pit mix or pits, I don't know. They're adorable and so sweet and run loose around the store. But then recently they got a little tiny dog, like some kind of Chihuahua mix that they found roaming the streets of Baltimore. How a Chihuahua ends up running around Baltimore, I don't know. But
it's just part of life. Go
in, browse the books while a dog sits on you. It's really soothing.
It's a good place.
And my housemate works there. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Hachi, Michael, you done?
Yeah, but you made me promise to say a couple of things.
Yeah, but Hachi's going to talk about the incinerator first.
Okay, let's do the incinerator. Awesome.
Okay, tell us about the incinerator, Hachi.
Well, you shouldn't like it.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Boo.
It's bad. So as you may or may not know, a bunch of school children living in Cherry Hill and Brooklyn area of Baltimore, it's on the south bit, won a large victory from an incinerator that was going to be built. It would be the third incinerator in our city. And they were going to build it right next to their school. And they said no. And also, you were legally violating your permit. So you shouldn't even be allowed to build this without a new environmental study or something of the like. They won. It was huge. You may have heard this. It was really, really great that these kids led this victory.
That's pretty amazing.
Or maybe you haven't heard about this, because I feel like interest in this story has waned, and for possibly good reason. That happened maybe 2 years ago. But what remains is the two operating incinerators. The big one that everyone likes to look at and makes you feel like you're home. It does make you feel like you're home to a city with incredibly high air pollution and above average asthma rates that disproportionately affect persons of color, especially the southern neighborhoods of Baltimore.
Actually, what's an incinerator?
An incinerator, thank you for asking, Sarah.
I do know what it is, just for the record, but
the incinerator takes garbage from our city, surrounding counties and surrounding states, 7 states in total, and burns it for energy. And it was built 35 years ago. It is one of the oldest incinerators in the country. It was built to different standards. It was also built to different standards in that I think we cared less about burning fire. I don't know if you know, back in the day, certain lakes or whole cities were just like vaguely on fire at all times. But yeah, we take our trash and we burn it. And a lot of times we take our recycling and burn it too. But that's a different story. But you might ask, like, oh, but I just threw this TV in the trash. I hope that doesn't get burnt. Me too, but it does all the time. Horrible, horrible shit is getting burned all the time. And it creates energy. And it does power some of the city. And unfortunately, they get tax credits because it's considered green energy. But I digress a little bit. This incinerator is very old. It is pretty much at the end of its useful life, and it is a huge detriment to the city. It is the #1 producer of air pollution in the city, and it should not be in the city. If it's anywhere, it should be not around people. It also should be new. In any case, City Council, in an incredible act of cooperation and bipartisan support, passed the Clean Air Act earlier this year. Hopefully people have heard of that. You may not have. They passed unanimously clean air standards that part of the point was pretty much shutting down the incinerator. They would have to spend millions of dollars to filter out the air. Boo-hoo, oh, I want to breathe. That sucks. Can't afford it. And it would shut the incinerator down.
Wait, so this was passed by City Council, yeah?
Correct.
So what does that mean in terms of it actually happening?
Well, it's complicated. I'm getting into
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. You should do your thing.
Yes. Where was I? So it was passed, and it then immediately was challenged in court by Wheelabrator's, the incinerator's lawyers, and it was thrown out because they said that we don't have the ability to preempt state law, which we do. We absolutely do have the ability to enforce stronger air standards. The incinerator's contract is up next year. So that's what I was going to say. All of this is happening, the Clean Air Act. At the same time, DPW, an organization that is just always crippled in this city and does not have a leader, and hopefully will under our new mayor.
The Department of Waste Management, yeah?
Correct, thank you.
Okay.
I love DPW. I'm like on a first acronym basis with them. You should follow them on Twitter. Great information. Same with the health department. They are working to create a master plan for waste in the city, which is desperately needed. Even if China was still accepting our recycling, which you may have heard, recycling crisis in the country, recycling just doesn't work in Baltimore. There's no enforcement. There's no encouragement. There could be 1,000,001 ways to improve recycling, improve solid waste, improve electricity generation. DPW is working on that. They solicited feedback all through 2019. They sent out polls. That is being worked on. That will be released. That will complement the Clean Air Act. Why am I talking about this? Well, the mayor, the lame duck mayor, who I think was a lame duck from the start, and now he's like a lamer duck, is working behind closed doors with the incinerator to give them a new contract before their contract is up. And that is going against what the citizens want, what the council wants, and what's best for our lungs. If you think that's a bad idea, you should call Jack Young or tweet him and tell him that he should support democracy. Or, if you want, join me tomorrow at the War Memorial, where he is going to have a preference on this, and protest and tell him that we want and deserve clean air in this city. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to go into it. There are also people that are much more knowledgeable than myself who will be there.
Thanks, Hachi.
But it is very important that Baltimore has not had a lot of victories, and we are so close to getting some victories, like bike lanes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Do you know why Jack Young would be making a deal with the people who run the incinerator, especially considering he's not seeking re-election? Like, my initial stance would be that he's getting some personal gain out of it, but is there like some sort of reasoning that he has that it's better for the city, or I don't know, or is he getting paid off or something?
Well, I think a lot of what he might, I do not know. It could possibly be found. It might be in some of the articles. A number of main Baltimore publications have picked this story up. I will say that he might be following one of the biggest point of contention with this, which is how will we replace electrical capacity, and how will we find, where will we put our trash? And those are all very, very, very good questions, which is why DPW is working on that.
Yeah.
And they're very aware of the law that we passed and are working to, under the assumption that we will triumph in court. We don't necessarily need 7 states bringing their garbage into our city. You have the incinerators emissions, not to mention all of the heavy trucks that bring it here. There's one more thing I will mention just because it's good to edify yourself on it. There is a steam loop in the city that is essentially a bunch of tubes with nice warm steam, and they go into a lot of the buildings downtown, and they give them heat and probably something else. I don't know, maybe air conditioning. I think it might just be heat. Viola, it says that they can expand that steam loop. So a lot of people are saying, oh, you can't close down the incinerator. We need that steam. That's not true. We have abilities to replace that steam. There are not incinerators older than 40 years in this city, in this country, for a reason. And it's because they need to be rebuilt. They need to be rebuilt better. They don't serve the populace the way they are. So come down tomorrow. Tell Jack.
Sachi. Oh, the information's right there on the screen. Perfect.
It is. That's my thing. Environmental justice for all.
Thanks, Hachi.
Let's shut down the incinerator, everybody.
Shut down the incinerator. Shut down this show.
All right, Michael, you want to do our closing announcements?
Yeah. So this is what's happening, folks. We're taking us a hiatus because we're, lazy. I'm not sure.
Oh, Frank! I reloaded the comments and Frank is in here. Yay! Oh, cool.
Hey, Frank.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel good. My babbling got through. All right, sorry, Michael. Interrupt.
That's all right. That's all right. Item 1, thanks to Breai for coming on. Breai is just one of the most wonderful people in general, but is also somebody that we value deeply at Mobtown, who has helped us and has sort of like become a part of our lives in a way that I find unspeakably nice. She's great. On September 2nd, we will, with Kristen Harbison and her merry band of environmental activists, be hosting the Voter Couch Party, where you will find out about voting and we will learn about it and do things to facilitate it for the people. Finally, like and subscribe this channel, Facebook, whatever it's, like it, which I think is.
Oh, it makes me so happy to force you to say that. I don't know why.
We're probably leaving Facebook for good, unless the populace can let us know reasons that would be a very bad idea.
You'd like to do it on YouTube.
YouTube just gives us some things that Facebook doesn't. We know it's very tenuous and shit. I mean, we'd probably just want to broadcast on Snapchat, or Instachaps, but you know.
On my face.
Yeah. Let us know. We're trying to do it. Tough decisions. Let us know what you think.
If you have any requests or things to say about this show, you can send them to Sarah at mobtownballroom.com.
That's true. Sarah with an H. Also, if you have any like people that you think we should have on the show, whether it's requests or people you know or have connections with or whatever, please
famous people,
send them our way. Yeah, especially the famous ones, because then we could, make sure that we put the people who deserve attention on with the show, people who already have it, probably deserve it as well. And then, we can use this platform to bolster other voices in Baltimore.
Yeah, we will be doing hopefully some interest. Oh, this is the part where we talk about the next thing. So this babbling is appropriate. Yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Not to out all this, but will the ballroom survive? Who knows? What's gonna happen on Capitol Hill tomorrow and the next day?
I really like this cliffhanger.
That's a good question. But maybe we have some money to do fun things with the show. Maybe we have some money to pay more covers for people to come on. Who was that?
Maybe Venmo Mobtown Live
right now, and we buy a camera. No, but yeah, we're into it. We're into this. We want to keep bringing you these shows. We had a whole meeting about it. It was very good. The consensus was we like you, the audience.
True.
No.
Michael, you just had so much fun telling them all about books. So
hush now.
Yeah. So subscribe, Venmo, and send your money to Breai at guardianbaltimore@gmail.com on PayPal. And thank you to everyone. And thank you, Hachi, for making this work.
Yay, Hachi.
A week, no problem. I don't have a song to play us out. How do we play?
All right, well,
I don't have a song to play us out.
Yeah, how do we
Abby, what do I play? She can't hear us, can she? Or she can't respond, at least. I kind of hear her talking right now.
I had a video. No, it's too long. I don't know. Yeah, you're going to have to. Oh, is it all falling apart right now?
What?
It's me. It's my internet connection. My internet connection's dying.
You sound good.
Oh, I can't hear you or myself. Anyway, sorry.
Well,
Cats in the Way was the request from
Yeah, just play Cats in the Way.
No, Cats in the Way has been eviscerated from my hard drives. This is gone forever.
I could send you some nice Songwriter X.
There's a song by Prince called Baltimore. That will definitely get the stream taken down. That's pretty fun, though. I didn't know that. All right. No, someone say something interesting while I find a song. Come on, back me up here.
Once again, we're having the voter couch party on September 2nd. And then after that, for the month of September, we will soon be making an announcement with all of the musical guests and all of the other guests. And I hope that you all plan to tune back in on Wednesday evenings at 7. And also that you send me, Sarah, Sarah, at mobtownballroom.com, your ideas, suggestions, requests, people you know that you can connect me to. All of that.
All right, I'm playing you out.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
What's the position with these weather systems at the moment? Cyclone Debbie, that's moved through?
It has. It's a very slow-moving system, so that's taken a while, and there's still a lot of very high wind associated with that system.
And a lot of damage, I guess.
Huge amount of damage, 200-kilometre-an-hour winds.
The power's out, of course,
Yes,
a
the
lot.
infrastructure's been hammered, Brian.
Yeah, and of course a lot of rain.
Well, the rain's been biblical. It still is. There's an enormous amount of rain up there right now.
Now, we're dealing with several weather systems at the same time here in Australia. Can we just go through them?
Yes, by all means.
Cyclone Corey, did that develop?
No, Cyclone Corey's been downgraded, Brian, to a light zephyr.
And I see that Cyclone Bill's forming again off the coast there.
No, late this afternoon, Cyclone Bill seems to be dissipating. It's been blown out to sea and simply might become just another low-pressure system. No power in it at all, Brian.
Right. Cyclone Malcolm,
yes.
Is that formed yet? Or is
not fully. A number of low-pressure systems are moving there, and it's a way south of where we thought it would be. It's a long way south. So if it makes landfall, it'll be well south.
Now, wasn't some of the energy in Malcolm lost to Hurricane Pauline at one stage?
Yes, it was. And then a lot of Hurricane Pauline's strength was dissipated by a thunderstorm system that was associated in very high pressure.
And what was the name of the thunderstorm?
That was called Barry.
And how do they measure the pressure in a thunderstorm?
Well, that's barometric pressure, Brian. That's measured with a barometer. And of course, that's to do with the temperature of the sea. And that will put warm air into Malcolm, and that'll mean Malcolm's on the move again.
Should people be worried about Malcolm?
Well, people should always be worried by a cyclone. There's enormous energy there, even if it doesn't seem to know what it's doing, and it's a long way further south.
Which areas are we talking about?
The towns most affected, if it hits the coastline with any force, Brian, will be Dutton and Abbott.
Dutton and Abbott.
That's right.
So what industries are going to be affected down there in Dutton and Abbott?
The loathing industry, Brian. A lot of Australia's loathing is done in Dutton.
Done in Dutton, of course.
A lot of seething. Not just in Abbott, Brian, but a lot of seething is done in that whole area.
Yeah, so, OK, for people in Dutton and Abbott who are watching, should they leave now? Is that your advice?
Well, if it gets any strength, Brian, put it this way, you should ring your friends in that area and see if they need your help. And if it were me, Brian, I'd be packing up and leaving now.
What about in Abbott?
Well, in Abbott, Brian, apparently the whole area's in lockdown. Apparently someone's holed up in an antique shop, heavily armed, and police have advised do not approach him under any circumstances.
Even now?
Well, especially now, Brian. Our concern is for the safety of the public.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for your time and keep us updated here.
Yeah, safety of the community is absolutely paramount. Stay away from Abbott.